there's so much emotion wrapped up in this college buying decision. So we're saying, can we help families shop smarter? You can have runway and you can be proactive instead of reactive. And we can give you a predictive outcome of about a 90% accuracy you're out of pocket. And we can have those conversations when they're a sophomore or junior, not when you have award letters. We've created price transparency. We're going to give you a net cost projection of every school, 3,000 schools in the country. And the reality is every family is going to pay a different price. It's kind of like when you sit on an airplane, everybody might have paid a different price for that seat. And it's very similar in a college classroom.
Joe Messenger was frustrated. He was frustrated that there were no resources for financial advisors like himself to understand how college financial aid worked. It was a black box that needed education and technology to peer inside and help his clients. This led him to launch a fintech called CollegeAidPro, which he and his co-founders have built into one of the fastest growing specialty financial planning applications on the market. I spoke with Joe about how CollegeAidPro is different from other planning tools, how his software can help advisors win more business, some tips for advisors looking to start their own software companies, and a whole lot more on this episode of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 98 of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, the founder and CEO of Ezra Group Consulting. Over the past 16 years, we've worked with hundreds of fintech vendors and enterprise wealth management firms to guide them towards better business and technology decisions. Check us out at EzraGroupLLC.com. This podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices in the wealth management technology space. And a few housekeeping tasks before I forget. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss any future episodes. A quick shout out to our new sponsor, the Sebastian Strong Foundation at sebastianstrong.org. And you should go to their website right away and make a donation, especially since they're having a fundraiser right now. They're kayaking to Key West. It's a kayak trip to raise money for cancer research, for childhood cancer research. And they kayak from Miami all the way to Key West. It's a great event to raise money for cancer research. And they're partnering, this is cool, they're partnering with the Miami Dolphins, who are matching all of the donations that are being made in the next couple of weeks, up to $100,000. So please go to sebastianstrong.org and donate some money. You're helping cure childhood cancer. And here we go with the interview. I'm excited to welcome to the program our guest, Joe Messenger, co-founder and CEO of CollegeAidPro. Joe, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Craig. Happy to be here, man.
I'm happy you are here as well. It's been a while. We had a couple starts to this, as this happens with busy executives trying to line up meetings, and I'm glad we were able to coordinate.
Yeah, for sure. Look forward to chatting today.
Joe, where are you calling in from?
I am in beautiful, sunny Sarasota, Florida today.
Lucky you, man. Nice.
Yeah. It's a great place to winter, but not a great place to summer.
No. But how long have you lived there?
Actually, through COVID last year, my significant other has lived here for several years. I came down with the intent of coming for a month or so and ended up being here for 6 months and discovered that I no longer want to have northern winters because I'd been in Columbus, Ohio for 15 years before that. And you don't have to do it, I found out. So
I always enjoy telling people about how bad the winters are in New Jersey, but I never do that with Midwesterners.
Yeah, it's the Midwest is interesting because all you got to do is just go to sleep and the next day it'll probably be different. So
the weather, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Great.
the weather. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here on the program, but we're not here to talk about the weather or where we live, but we're here to talk about your product, CollegeAidPro. I'm a big fan of it, so I'm glad you are here. Can you give us the 30-second elevator pitch of CollegeAidPro?
Sure. Our mission is to help every family make an affordable college choice. So to unpack that more, how do we help every student graduate with little or no student loan debt without robbing mom and dad's retirement? And really what we feel to do that, number one, we have to raise the bar on college funding advice in the industry. And if we do that, we can end the student loan crisis at its cause, doing things proactively instead of reactively. And to do that, our goal is to empower advisors with the right software, training, support, and community to help them have success, helping families make more informed college buying decisions.
That was a great overview. So I like your product. As we were talking earlier, I have 3 daughters. 2 of them have gone through college. So I went through this experience on my own. No advisor was helping me, and no software was helping me. And I've just done the 3rd. She's just going to start in September, but I really could have used your software. But the question is, so why did you found this company? What was the impetus behind starting it?
Yeah, so kind of my story, right, is I've been in the financial services industry since 2001. So this is my 20th year, I guess, we're working on. And I worked for big companies for about a decade, rose through and made I don't know if it was a poor decision, but got into leadership about 5 years in and, helped build sales teams and run regions, and kind of burned out on that for a number of reasons. But my partner and I saw a huge opportunity to, number one, the fee only movement was beginning. So we wanted to go to a fee only platform, but we also saw a huge gap in college funding and how this whole thing works at the time. So I'm about 32 at that time. And at the time, my friends were graduating from grad school, law school, MBAs, those kind of things. And they were coming out and saying, hey, you've been a financial advisor for a long time. How do I work with these loans? And how do I do this? And I said, I have no idea. We've never been taught that, but you've been a financial planner for 10 years. How do you not know this stuff? So, we continue to unpack that. We find out that, like, look, I've asked top advisors from some of the top firms in the country. Nobody knows how financial aid works. Nobody knows how this thing really works. We're never trained on it. That's what we found. So we saw a big opportunity. And, fast forward, we start Capstone Wealth Partners, which is my RIA in Columbus, Ohio. And we work with families for 7-8 years, and we're still doing that today. And then the industry started calling saying, hey, what are you doing? How do you unpack this? So my partner and one of the co-founders, CollegeAidPro, David Bowman, and I started basically a training consulting company helping people. We built a 10-hour course on college funding, right? So the CFP curriculum has about 1.8 pages. We developed a 10-hour course. So a little bit of gap in that. That kind of evolved into us meeting up with Matt Carpenter and Bill Rabbit, who run one of the largest college funding consulting firms, college funding services up in the Northeast. And they were trying to build a technology for the consumer, basically, to help them scale their business and work with consumers. And I said, well, we've got hundreds of advisors that have gone through our course, and they've said at the end, this is all great. What software do we use? And that basically was, I said they all kind of don't really fit the bill for the way that we look at college. So we set out on this mission, intentionally to say, let's build a business to business SaaS product that advisors can use with families, because we think there's nobody more better prepared to be that human guidepost than a financial planner. But most financial planners really just don't have the resources, tools, and training to do it the right way.
That's for sure. Yeah, definitely the training isn't there. I didn't realize you would create a course. That's really interesting. Seems like a great way to get yourself educated on it as well, because you don't never learn something as well as you do when you try to teach it. But
yeah, it's one way to mastery, right? Is to teach it, and you have to get in front of other CFP professionals. And I started doing a lot of speaking and for XYPN and FPA and NAFA and all the associations. You're going to make sure you have the razor sharp when you go into those engagements. And it's interesting. Just kind of an anecdote is, like, I would go into these rooms and there'd be 100 CFPs, great financial planners that many of them I know and respect. And I'd say, hey, how many of you have an advanced designation, a CFP or CPA? Every hand goes up, right? I see, how many of you would consider yourself experts in college financial aid planning? And like one hand stays up. I said, now look at this, because we have an issue here, because 73% of parents say their number one concern is how to pay for college and navigate the process. Yet 99% of you say we don't do that. So we saw a big opportunity there to, raise the bar on college funding advice.
It's a huge concern. Speaking as a parent who has gone through it 3 times, and I'm an avid spreadsheet maker whenever I'm making a decision, a financial decision, whether it's buying a house or a car. probably too much. But I also did it for college because it's so hard to keep track of what college said what scholarship did they get, what aid did they get. So yeah, having it automated and looking and seeing the demo of your software, I was like, oh man, why didn't I have this? But there's lots of calculators out there that do college calculation and planning, and every college has a calculator that does things as well. But so how are you different than just a calculator that figures out college costs?
When we set out on the mission, it's really like, how do you build this thing from end to end? Because all these pieces, it's people with spreadsheets, it's these calculators, everything's so bifurcated. And we said, how do we help guide a family through this process? It's really like, how do we guide families, help parents be the hero, have great outcomes for kids? So if you start with that why, the solution becomes to build itself. And we had built this out on spreadsheets for years. And we do the calculator, get what they call an EFC. We go to the school and get a net price calculator, try and get an idea of what it costs. But the reality is many of those net price calculators are extremely misleading. Our software is actually more accurate, more sophisticated than the net price calculators on the websites themselves for the college. So a case in point, a concrete example, we're yet to find a net price calculator on a school's website that can equate for a divorce situation. And that's crazy because it's half the people out there, right? In many schools, the way they address that, it can swing what they think you can afford significantly. So it's things like that. But at the end of the day, it's starting with a process and a framework. So when we talk about this, it's this idea of like every student coming into this process is a snowflake, because there's things in this process that you may not know, but our software, if you put the right things in, we'll give you the rest of the answers. So spend 5 minutes getting the input in. CollegeAidPro will do the rest. That's kind of the whole idea. So and we think about that too. Like there's a few factors in there that we say our 5-part framework is how much colleges think you can afford. That's thing number one, because that's going to see, can you get need-based aid? How much can your family actually afford? That's a novel concept, creating a budget for college. So that's a process we call college pre-approval. If you think about that, if college had to be pre-approved for every student in this country, like we do for a mortgage, we wouldn't have the student loan problem we have. Then number 3, how do we find schools that are going to be generous with financial aid for us and our family? Because what your neighbor tells you and the averages at the schools, that's very dangerous. So, how do we find those schools that are generous? Because, if you go do the tour at some of our top universities, like you're Harvard and the students walking backwards, giving you the speech and, hey, the average student here only pays $12,000. And you're like, cool. Well, am I paying 0 or 85,000? Because there's a big swing there. So it's really about what is our family going to pay, highly, highly, highly tailored, because it comes down to, what's it going to cost us to pay for all 4 years of college? And more importantly, if we go and make this decision, what's our delta? What's our college funding gap? What's our resulting student loan? More importantly, what's that loan payment? Because that's where the rubber really hits the road for a student. Because all the numbers about 100,000 or 10,000 are young adults. That's funny money to them. But if you can create a thing and we show outcomes to say, look, here's what you're going to come out making from this college, from this degree. So literally down to the degree from that university compared side by side, here's your outcome. If that loan payment is more than your first year salary, that total loan, that's not a great choice. So it's really all the way down to helping people just understand what is a good decision. Because a lot of times we don't know.
Said so many things. I'm taking notes. So that is really a key issue that I found. The delta. What is the delta? What's the net? And trying to figure out what that is. And you're right. I definitely saw a difference between what the calculators on the websites promised or said that you would get versus what actually came out. So I have a million questions for you. So why if you know the answer, every college seems to have a list price, which is really high, but then they always say, oh, no one pays that. So why do they have it? Why do they do that?
I think there's a couple of different perspectives on it, but if you think of it in terms of cachet, right? So if this school costs 75,000, they must be better than this school that costs 50. So these schools have gotten in this price war to where they continue to grow their cost of attendance and their tuition, but because they have endowments. So they're basically saying, we're going to subsidize this cost, but if we don't cost something comparable to another school, people are going to perceive that our value is not as good. When the reality is the value is net cost, right? So we want to find the great deal. And it's crazy with college, we put on these blinders and we have we'll go pay whatever they tell us. And the problem with it is like, most families don't find that out until they get the acceptance letter and that first bill. And then at that point, it's too late because that young teenager did everything you told them to do. They got the grades, they got the ACT, they launched a spaceship when they were 12. They did all the things to get into these great colleges, all the while thinking, oh, we're going to get scholarships or whatever. But, then you're stuck because telling, the kid that did everything you told him to with an acceptance letter to Cornell or Yale, good luck. Parents get steamrolled, and the whole idea of like these the price elasticity that's out there, like the average private school discounts tuition 52.9%. That's the average. That means some schools are discounting even more, but it really comes down to that whole idea of like, if we don't price high enough, then we're not going to have the relative value to these other schools. So,
and that's exactly what I found, that they're pricing it. It's like a luxury item. It's like why Tiffany charges more for the bag, and even if you could buy the same, diamond ring or bracelet at another store, you want that Tiffany bag. You want that Yale sweatshirt. It's the parents want the sweatshirt, so that's why so they could afford to send their kid to Yale. And when you say the average discount is 50% percent or more, that's what I heard and what I read as well. And it all becomes funny money. But one thing I've always said, going through this college experience, is that college is the only service that you beg the vendor to pay. Like, please take our money. You don't do that anywhere else. You don't know, and certainly not for these prices. So it's hundreds of thousands. It could be over $100,000 or $200,000 or more that you're committing to, and you're begging them to take your money.
Yeah, and and the interesting thing is like there's so much emotion wrapped up in this college buying decision. So we're saying, can we help families shop smarter? If you can have runway and you can be proactive instead of reactive, and we can give you a predictive outcome of about a 90% accuracy you're out of pocket, and we can have those conversations when they're a sophomore or junior, not when you have award letters. We've created price transparency. We're going to give you a net cost projection of every school, 3,000 schools in the country. And the reality is every family is going to pay a different price. It's kind of like when you sit on an airplane, everybody might have paid a different price for that seat. And it's very similar in a college classroom. You're going to find your discounts for you and your family. And that's that whole idea of, every student is a snowflake in here. So even a brother and a sister from the same family, the family's financials may be the same, but their academics are different. So their opportunities for merit scholarship change. So, we used to say it's by the family, but now it's like, no, it's by that student, because, I have case after case where, low income families, I got to tell you, they're rolling out schools based on the sticker price more than anybody. So our idea of impact and making affordable college choice, they're not looking at this the right way, because what we know is if you look at some of our top 50 schools out there that we all know the name of, none of them have scholarships. None of them have scholarships. Why is that? Well, everybody got in as a 36 ACT and a valedictorian. And, so they're like, well, we couldn't decide who to give scholarships to. So we're just going to award based on need. We cost 80,000, but if you have financial need, we'll meet 100%. And that's true for a lot of families. But if you're not so if you are a low income family, the example I give this year, and I have one every year, really talented student, inner city kid, mom worked 2 jobs, but they were only looking at junior college and a state school. The reality is, I said, well, what's your dream college? Well, it's Georgetown. I said, cool. Well, Georgetown's probably going to be actually more affordable. Come to find out this year, he's going to Georgetown for half the price of Ohio State. That's the kind of impact we want to make, through advisors, but also every family in America deserves to have this transparency. And it's really we feel like our long-term goal is really to have every family shop smart for college, including those that need it the most, and even some that can't afford a financial advisor.
Hey, it's Craig. I want to take a quick break from this episode to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Sebastian Strong is a 501c3 nonprofit whose goal is to raise awareness about childhood cancer and fund research for less toxic, more targeted treatments and cures. The charity was founded in 2017 by the parents of 16-year-old Sebastian Ortiz after he lost his year-long battle with a rare form of childhood sarcoma. Sebastian Strong focuses on funding innovative research that has the potential to revolutionize cancer treatment for children. Cancer is the #1 cause of death by disease among children, yet less than 4% of the National Cancer Institute's budget is allocated to childhood cancer. Sebastian Strong is partnered with leading cancer research institutions around the country and actively collaborates with other childhood cancer foundations that support their one key belief that kids deserve better, better treatments, better outcomes, and better lives. Please help the Sebastian Strong Foundation to continue their mission by making a donation, spreading the word about beating childhood cancer, or getting involved. You can do that by visiting their website at sebastianstrong.org. That's Sebastian, SebastianStrong.org. You can also follow them on Instagram and Twitter at SebsStrong, that's SEBSSTRONG, or on Facebook at Sebastian Strong. So Joe, the some of the features I want to go through with you that I really think are cool about CollegeAidPro. Can you talk about the apples to apples comparison and how you do it differently than other tools or other, just going why a parent can't do the same thing?
Yeah, well, I think one thing when we set out to build our advisor workstation, it was really built like as a financial planning software. I think a lot of the applications out there for this solving this thing are really built for the consumer. And you can't really manage a lot of clients in it. So ours is really, built to the akin of an e-money or Right Capital, where you can manage your clients, and it's really built on seeing into the future, right? So when I think about when we talk end to end, like here's the 4 year, how much is it going to cost you? What's your budget? What's your delta? What's your loan? What's your loan payment? So if everybody can see that, I call it like future me, right? Like if you could help somebody see into the future, because our job as planners is to help people see into the future and what the impact of these decisions are. But a lot of times with college, we're accounting. We're accounting for the past because we have this big bomb at the end, where if we can help people more proactively plan, more proactively see, and then also the other part of that is everybody comes in with their 4 or 5 schools that they're interested in, but oftentimes all of them are way out of budget, right? So with our advanced search tool, you could shop for schools like you shop for airlines on orbits. So you can tell it, I want to see schools within a day's drive that have my business major, that are Forbes ranked, and I just want to see schools that are going to give me the most merit scholarship, right? So think of the power of that and give you a rank order list of schools within a day's drive that are going to give you the most scholarship. And then that can inform how you begin to, chop down and find schools might be better for you. So I really feel like that advanced search on top of what we already give, because if every school that you're interested in is way out of your budget, the question is, what do we do now? Right. So that's really what I feel like one of the most powerful things that we do is in that advanced search. Like I said, shopping and putting your criteria in exactly what you want.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I mean, speaking as a parent
Yeah.
who had to do these searches, it's hard to find. It's hard to get the information. You're constantly, typing in what is the total cost. I want the total cost of ownership, and it's hard to find. Some schools present it. Here's all the fees. Here's everything. Some obfuscate. You got to search around. You got to click multiple places. What's the program? What are you in? And for example, my daughter, if I could do a humble brag, my daughter is in a 5-year occupational therapy program, and trying to figure out what that costs is a little tricky because she got some scholarships, yay, which is great, merit scholarship, but it only is for undergrad, but she's in a 5-year program, so that only covers the first 4 years. So what happens in the 5th year? I don't know. What's the cost? I don't know. So I had to go back and forth with the financial aid people. So how does CollegeAidPro help with that situation?
I think with all of it, it's kind of providing a source of truth, right? So we're going to project what you get, but ultimately the schools are going to come back and you're going to have to analyze those awards. So we have an awards analysis tool. So you're going to be able to look and say, okay, this is what it costs for the 4 years. What does this 5th year mean? Part of what's inside of the software is if you can compare and contrast, you can also appeal for additional aid. Right. So understanding, part of this process too, we've got, 6 great schools that may be competing for this great student like your daughter to say, hey, look, you gave us 20,000 a year, which is awesome, but this other school gave us 25. And what we found, oftentimes is if you have that informed conversation, you can go back to that admissions office and say, hey, they'll oftentimes turn around and match that offer. But when I talk about the true north, it's like, how do you have, what is our truth here? Like here's actually what it's going to cost, right? And then you can make sure you reading financial aid award letters, kind of to your point, it's there's no standardization. We've seen over 400 different financial aid award letters, and they're wildly confusing. as how they present things. They call things like student loans and work study financial aid, where those things don't actually cut your cost of college. So it's really for a family, it's like, well, it's really confusing. And they call parent plus loans financial aid. It's a loan, right? So it's like, how do you break through this intentionally opaque process where they're kind of trying to disguise loans as financial aid to really get to your point, like, what's this actually going to cost me, right? So the tool really helps, I think, really show you, here's their cost of attendance broken down by travel costs, miscellaneous, tuition, room and board, and then here's what they gave you in form of aid, because that really gets down to your net cost, and then you got to extrapolate that over 4 or then 5 years and understand that.
Yeah, man, you're preaching to the choir. This is so rings so true when I hear all this, and yeah, that always killed me when you get the financial aid letter. Not the financial aid, you get the admissions letter or the letter with the merit scholarships, and they say, yeah, you got a loan of X thousand. That's reducing your cost. Like, no, it's not. It's just deferring my cost. A loan is not aid. A loan is not a merit scholarship. It's a loan, and just but they throw that in to show, see, your net cost is really this much. I'm like, no, it's not. I still have to pay that money back, or my daughter does, right? Yeah, so that's another.
I was going to say, just to piggyback on that too. One of the things we see is like traditional financial planning software. It only shows you the sticker price, and people have asked us like, well, how can you predict this stuff, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, how can you not? Right? Because the reality is, most people aren't paying sticker price. Ours is much more accurate than traditional financial planning software. We pick up where it leaves off, all the way down to one of the things we've talked about too is like, most people with college that they've saved, when they get to that first student, they've never decumulated money, right? So there's a lot of talk of retirement income planning, but like with college, it's a short amount time to save, and it's a short amount to decumulate. So being really smart and understanding what goes into that, including, yes, the scholarships, but if we've got our cost, what can we cash flow? What's coming from 529? What's coming from grandparent help? Our tool is like a sandbox to help you really help the family visualize, here's exactly how you're going to pay that bill. And oftentimes that's really what's extremely powerful. And that's what I think is missing in financial advisors saying we don't do that. It's like, we have to elevate what we're doing and help people really just, make informed decisions and actually help steward them through that process so they don't take things like parent plus loans that are extremely expensive. And so I really feel like that, this idea of a human guidepost for the financial planner is important.
Dude, you've got to put that on the website. That is that's something I've never heard put that way before. It's a decumulation. I've heard decumulate. Obviously, I've heard decumulate a million times, but only in the context of retirement. I've never heard the word decumulate applied to college, and it's absolutely 100% true. It's a decumulation event, right? You're shelling out a ton of money that you expected to, but how do you optimize? And there's tools out there that just make a living on optimizing decumulation in retirement. You can save tons. You can do it. You got to put this on your website, the decumulation part, because that's a huge savings for parents. Yeah, because we've got like my mother-in-law did a 529. We had a 529. I set up a Roth IRA for my kids because they were working for me when they were younger. We had IRA. So where do you take the money from, and what order?
Yep.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a lot of benefit to it. One of the planning opportunities that exist there too, because software can go to some extent, but it's literally like going into, should we use grandparent monies in the latter years? And the answer is yes, because if you're a financial aid candidate and that comes in properly, that can disrupt your future financial aid. So it gets into the strategy and the training, and I think part of what we do too, we do a biweekly roundtable for advisors. And it's a grab bag, but there's always something topical. We're releasing new stuff all the time, but that biweekly roundtable has really become a great way for us to provide demonstration. And here's how this could work. We bring on other advisors from the community, and I think advisors learn best from other advisors. Like not just from their successes, but from their failures. And what we've learned is, our community has informed the software as it is today. We set out on this mission. We said, we're going to go build a B2B because we saw it as a great way to build revenue. But what we didn't know, the unintended consequence was, turns out you get 250, 300 certified financial planners banging around in software. They're going to tell you what's wrong. And they're going to tell you what features are missing, right? So that's been this, I kind of call it like a, I didn't even think about that, but like we talked about building community, but man, the feedback loop is just phenomenal. So to get to where we're at, I have to say thank you to everybody that's been an early adopter. We've been around for about 3 years, and we would not be anywhere close to where we're at without the help and, the constant push, honestly, of some of our advisors saying, when's it going to be out? When's it going to be out? So like we recently launched a private scholarship search right within the software. We're like, yeah, do we really need it? Do we really need it? And the advisor's like, yeah, like the families put so much emphasis on it, so why not? So we said, yeah, let's do it. So all those features and benefits, that constant feedback loop we have with our community. I mean, I'm kind of like, I get tingles when I think about what we've been able to build and the relationships that that myself and the other co-founders have with our advisors on platform. It's really special.
All right, we are running out of time, which I expected because I had a million questions. So in the last 5 minutes, I want to get to a couple of things that we had spoken about. Can you give us some advice as a founder of a company? What advice would you have for other advisors in your position who have an idea to start a software company? What are some of the mistakes you made that you want to give them a warning about?
If you're looking at building some type of wealth tech, we have to build our own solutions in this industry many times. I would say be cautious who you work with from a development standpoint. We did have some false starts there where we built some prototypes. So, I would make sure that you're definitely it's considering it like an RFP process. Don't just meet with one and they sell you. Meet with, two, three. One of the things that has kind of guided us too is whenever there's something we're looking for, be it legal advice or accounting or developers, get 3 quotes. Get 3 quotes, make an informed decision, right? Curate that. Don't just take the first one that comes in the door. And that really has served us well from finding the right price, finding the right partner that's, aligned with our values, because we're mission driven. So we need to find partners that are mission driven. And that's kind of another piece of that, putting that out as like an RFP. Don't just take the first offer. Make sure you're doing your due diligence for hiring people, for bringing in, outside consulting, all those things. So that would probably be something that served us well, but burned us early.
And speaking as someone who runs a consulting firm, I can say, watch out for consultants. Be careful. Anyway, so another thing I wanted to let you talk about before we finish is the marketing hub. Cool new feature. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we've named it the CollegeAidPro Marketing Hub, and really what it gets into is the ability for teams to now collaborate. So if you have 2 advisors or 2,000 advisors, an administrative panel now allows you to have oversight over your entire platform. So when folks come in, many families come into what we call it our college money report. It's a free college money report. It's a diagnostic and a lead capture tool. So if those come in, you can then distribute those out to your team of advisors based on however you want. But even more powerful, I think, is our data analytics that are in there. So we're going to help you slice and dice graduation year, what advisors have how many clients, all the, very, very detailed reports. So as you develop and capture leads, those things all sync up with, your CRMs, and those things to build your mail campaigns. So the marketing hub, it's really like we take a kind of a custom approach of, building an airtight funnel for your organization. And that's what the marketing hub allows us to do, because data and intel is what allows you to have more informed campaigns instead of a shotgun approach. Right. And I feel like when we built that out, I was like, even for my own firm, what it's done for us, being able to share and have my administrative team do what they need to do and have an advisor say, hey, can you check out this case for me? Ping me with an email. So, the whole idea is like really make it really simple and easy to do college planning the right way for a whole footprint.
Love it, Joe. Great product. I'm really excited that we got time to talk. Can you tell everyone who's listening where they can find out more about your product?
CollegeAidPro.com. Go check it out. And, when we book our demos, one thing I'll say is it's more of a discovery call. This is something that we know is intimidating for a lot of advisors and institution, because it's something that, quite frankly, we've never been trained on and we don't know how to monetize it. But I can tell you, if you get college planning right, you will get the rest of the business. I've learned that over the years. So, visit us, book a demo. And like I said, it's really about exploring how can we support you, either as getting you propped up or even being a back office for you with CollegeAidPro. CollegeAidPro.com.
Speaking as an advisor to other advisors. Hey, Joe, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, it's Craig again. I love that interview. It was really good. Fun talking to Joe about CollegeAidPro, a product I really like. I wish I was an advisor and I could use it. Although my kids are all done with college selection at least, so I kind of missed the boat there. But hopefully lots of parents and families will be able to be helped with CollegeAidPro through their advisor. I could have talked to Joe for at least another hour. I had a lot more questions. I will definitely have him on the program again in a couple more months because I want to know what they're doing with their data. And we'd spoken a little bit before and after the interview about all the data that they have. And there's so much that can be done with all the data they're gathering on college decisions, college costs, financial aid costs, and especially comparing what schools provide the best programs versus how much you're paying, the bang for the buck, which a lot of parents, it's very opaque. There's not a lot of information to know where you're getting the best value. I know there's lots of articles around it, but no real surveys done. There's lots of one-off articles, which I've seen. Haven't done the research for my own kids. So please go to collegeaidpro.com and check them out. And also go to EzraGroupLLC.com and check us out and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you will get an email with some good news, information about the industry, updates, and analysis, and links to articles. So please do that. And look forward to talking to you all again next time.